In 1989, a broke Vancouver kid bought a used pickup truck for about $700 and started hauling away other people's garbage. That was the whole business, a truck and somebody else's trash. Today, that company is called 1-800-GOT-JUNK, and the average franchise owner grosses over $3 million a year. Now, before you quit your job to go collect couches, that $3 million is revenue, not profit, and I'll show you why that gap decides everything. But hold that thought, because there are two things I want you to watch for. One is a 31-year-old who built a $4 million business out of the least glamorous object on earth. The other is the single boring business most of you already own the real estate for and don't rent out. Here's the promise. 20 boring businesses ranked by how much they actually make while you sleep. Real Canadian numbers, everyone confirmed or flagged. And a warning label on the ones the American finance channels keep selling you that quietly fall apart the second you cross the border. Some of these are real. Some are a machine salesman's dream. And there's one rule that sorts them. Every single time. A business only pays you while you sleep if you own the asset, or you pay someone else to run it. Everything else is just a job wearing a costume. By the end, you'll know which is which. Let's count up from the ones that make you sweat. Number 20. Junk removal. We started here, so let's finish the thought. 1-800-GOT-JUNK was founded in Vancouver. It's still Vancouver run. And yes, the average franchisee grosses around $3 million American. But roughly 95% of those owners are out on the truck themselves, working 45 to 55 hours a week. An independent single truck operator in Canada does more like $150,000 to $250,000 in revenue at a net margin somewhere between 15 and 30%. And in Toronto, the dump charges you around $142.50 a ton to drop the load. This is a real business, but by our one rule, it fails. You don't own an asset here, you are the asset. You are the truck. Number 19. Snow removal. The most Canadian business on this list. You sign commercial contracts in the fall, condo boards and parking lots, and you get paid on a schedule whether it snows or not. A snow operation for sale in British Columbia recently listed around $441,000 in revenue and $195,000 in profit. That's a 44% margin. The catch is obvious the first time you're plowing a Costco lot at 4 a.m. in February. And a green winter means a lean year. Pair it with landscaping and you've got something. On its own, it's seasonal and it's weather roulette. Number 18. Pool routes. You'll see this one in every American passive income video, and I'm putting it here on purpose so you don't. A pool cleaning route is a genuinely good recurring business in Phoenix. In Canada, the pools are open maybe 4 months. The math that works in Arizona does not survive a Winnipeg January. This is the theme of the whole video. Copy the business, not the climate. Number 17. Delivery routes. Amazon's own program and FedEx Ground both run in Canada. Amazon says you can start with around $30,000 in liquid cash and that a fleet can bring in $1 million to $4.5 million a year with owner profits somewhere between $75,000 and $300,000. Fair warning, those are Amazon's own projections, not audited results, and they say so themselves. And Amazon is blunt that this is not an absentee owner situation. You are managing drivers, vans, and routes every single day. Good income, not a sleep business. Number 16. Commercial cleaning. Here's where it gets quieter. A janitorial franchise in Canada can start shockingly low. JanPro's Canadian range runs from about $4,900 up to $78,100, depending on the territory. The revenue is recurring because offices need cleaning every week forever, and residential operations run a net margin around 10 to 25%. It's semi-passive only once you've got crews doing the mops instead of you. The whole game is finding and keeping people. Number 15. Dumpster rental. You buy a used roll-off truck, $40,000 to $90,000, and a stack of bins at $3,000 to $7,000 each. Then you drop them off, and you pick them up. Each dumpster can pull $15,000 to $20,000 a year. Now, the internet will tell you the margins are 40 to 50%. One detailed operator analysis put the real industry average net profit closer to 12%, with the well-run shops at 18 to 25. That figure is American, so treat it as a signpost, not gospel. The margin killer is the tipping fee at the dump, same enemy as the junk truck. Number 14. Portable toilets. I told you to watch for this one. A 31-year-old started a porta-potty company in 2023 with one truck and 100 toilets. By 2025, he had a fleet of nearly 2,000 units, and the company brought in $4.3 million in a single year, at a net margin around 22%. His words, he built, quote, a low-tech, AI, proof business. Now, those numbers are American and I can't triple confirm a Canadian version, so flag them. But the point stands, and it's the whole thesis of this list. The most boring object you can imagine, rented out at scale, quietly out, earns half the tech startups you've heard of. Nobody's jealous of the toilet guy. The toilet guy is fine. Number 13. Arcade and amusement routes. Claw machines, coin-op games, the stuff bolted to the wall at the laundromat. On its own, it's thin, and I'll be honest, the standalone Canadian numbers here are soft. So treat this as a bolt-on. Nobody sets out to build an arcade route anymore, which is exactly why the few machines still out there rarely have any competition beside them. Where it earns its keep is stapled to another location you already run. One laundromat listing showed the arcade and vending pulling meaningful extra profit on top of the wash. It's a topping, not the meal. Number 12. Self-serve car wash. Now we're getting into machines that work while you're not there. A self-serve base setup in Canada runs somewhere from $30,000 for a modest build-up to a few $100,000 for a bigger site. You charge $10 to $20 a vehicle, and operating margins land around 14 to 26%. And here's the beautiful part nobody in Florida gets to enjoy. Road salt. A Canadian winter is a permanent, corrosive advertising campaign for your car wash. Your marketing department is the Ministry of Transportation. Number 11. Touchless automatic wash. Same idea, bigger machine. An in-bay automatic or touchless setup jumps to $250,000 and up, and a full express tunnel runs into the millions. I've seen express tunnel revenue figures I could not confirm to a Canadian source, so I'm not going to quote them at you. What I can tell you, less labor than the self-serve, more capital up front, and the same salt-covered tailwind all winter. If you can fund it, it's one of the more genuinely hands-off businesses on this list. Number 10. Cash machines. The privately owned automated teller machine, the ATM in the corner store. And here comes the first myth I need to break. Yes, a machine costs $2,000 to $8,000, and yes, you keep a surcharge of $2.50 to $4 every time somebody takes out cash. A decent Canadian location might net $300 to $800 a month. But read that carefully. Those headline numbers people post online are gross, before you subtract the cash you float, the fees, the maintenance, and the slow, steady march of everyone paying by tap. A great location prints. A bad one loses money quietly for a year before you notice. It is not free money in a box. Number 9. Vending machines. And this is the big one. Same trap as the cash machine we just did, only this time it's dressed up in chips and soda. This is the single most oversold passive income business on the internet, so let me steelman it fairly first, because the dream is real. A machine costs about $2,500. A good one in the right spot can clear over $1,000 a month, and roughly 1 in 8 machines does exactly that. That's a genuine business. That part is true. Here's the part the machine salesman leaves out. Statistics Canada tracked the entire Canadian vending industry and found a pre-tax profit margin of about 6.8%, not 40, under 7. The average machine grosses $150 to $400 a month, and the operators who actually make money are driving a route, restocking, fixing jams, and fighting for locations 4 to 10 hours a week. The realistic payback on a machine is 12 to 14 months, not the 6 you saw in the ad. And by our one rule, this one fails too. You don't own an asset, you own a route, and the route owns your Saturday. So let me catch you here, because I've just spent 3 minutes telling you the fun ones are a trap, and you're 55 and doing the math on your own retirement, wondering if any of this is real. It is. You've just been shown the wrong half. Everything from here up is the half that actually works. And most of it doesn't need a truck, a route, or your Saturday. If this is landing, take 1 second and subscribe, because I run the Canadian numbers on this stuff every week, and the American channels are not going to do it for you. Okay, the real ones. Number 8. Self-serve dog wash. Roughly 39% of Canadian households own a dog. That's around 8 million dogs, and every one of them gets filthy. A self-serve dog wash unit costs $12,750 to $45,000 before tax. It uses maybe $1 to $350 of water and soap per wash. You charge $10 to $20. A single popular unit averages around $18,000 a year, and a Toronto operator reported $35,000 to $40,000 in annual profit with. In their words, no staff required. The machine pays itself back in 12 to 18 months. $2 of soap, a $20 ticket, and a dog that would rather be anywhere else. That's the business. Number 7. Coin laundry. The classic, and it's classic for a reason. Buying an existing Canadian laundromat runs $150,000 to $600,000 and up. The industry's own association says a single location generates cash flow anywhere from $15,000 to $300,000 a year at net margins of 20 to 35%, and they typically sell for 3 to 5 times that net cash flow. Now here's the Canadian wrinkle. The number of laundromats in this country dropped from 1,784 in 2004 to 1,092 by 2022. Fewer competitors, same apartment dwellers who need clean clothes. The government's own data says most of them run profitable on average revenue around $252,800. Card payment now lets you watch the whole thing from your phone. Boring, recession-resistant, and it does not care what the stock market did today. Number 6. Parking lots. This is close to the purest version of the idea. You own a patch of asphalt and you rent it by the hour or the month. Parking cap rates run wide, roughly 5 to 10%, because the income swings. Even a single Toronto condo parking spot tells the story. Buy it for around $40,000, rent it for $200 a month, pay $50 in condo fees, and you're at a 4.5% return on a rectangle of concrete you never have to paint, feed, or manage. Scale that to a surface lot on the edge of a growing city, and you've got income that shows up whether you're there or not. Number 5. Small bay industrial. This is the one wealthy Canadians are quietly buying while everyone argues about condos. A small bay or flex warehouse is a plain building split into units you rent to a contractor, a mechanic, a small manufacturer. Industrial cap rates in Canada sit around 5 to 6%. The magic word is triple net. On a triple net lease, the tenant pays the property tax, the insurance, and the maintenance. You collect rent and not much else lands on your desk. New supply is choked because the land keeps getting rezoned for housing, and the big money chases apartment towers in downtown office. So these plain metal boxes get left to the people actually paying attention. Small bay sales have been running well above pre-pandemic levels. With a property manager, this is about as hands-off as owning a business gets. Number 4. Mobile home parks. Stay with me because the number here is genuinely strange. You don't own the homes, you own the land and the pads underneath them, and the residents own the trailers, which means when a tenant is unhappy, they can't just pack a box and leave. Moving a manufactured home costs $5,000 to $10,000. So annual tenant turnover in these parks runs around 2.2%. Compare that to roughly 47% for an apartment building. That is the stickiest rent in real estate. The cap rate numbers I have are American, so flag the exact figures, but the mechanism is universal, and it's why the smart money loves the least glamorous dirt in the country. Number 3. Billboard and land leasing. This one barely qualifies as work. If you own the right piece of land, a sign company will pay you to put a billboard on it. They handle the permits, the build, the maintenance, the advertisers, all of it. You cash a check. The landowner typically keeps only 10 to 18% of what the sign earns. But here's the thing. It's nearly pure margin because you did nothing. A single highway billboard can gross the operator around $24,000 a year, and your ground rent flows off that for as long as the sign stands. The exact Canadian per sign payment is hard to pin to a source, so I'll flag it, but the shape of it is the closest thing to free money on this list. Number 2. Self-storage. And now we're at the businesses that genuinely earn while you sleep. Self-storage is, at its core, renting out empty air behind a metal door. In Canada, a standard 10 by 10 unit rents for $138 to $212 a month. Priciest in Vancouver, cheapest in Montreal. And the operating margins are the reason people who know real estate are quietly obsessed with a metal box. So how good are they? 40 to 60% at a full facility. That top figure comes from American data, so treat it as the ceiling, not a promise. Once it's built in full, a storage facility can run on 2 people and a keypad. You are not there. The rent still is. And number 1. The one I told you to watch for. The boring business you already own the real estate for. Your basement. A legal secondary suite is the most underused money machine in this country, and most 50-somethings are sitting on top of one. Literally, building a legal basement suite in Toronto runs $50,000 to $100,000, and legalizing one that already exists can be as little as $25,000 to $55,000. In return, you collect $1,500 to $2,500 a month in most Ontario markets. That's $18,000 to $30,000 a year, and the build pays itself back in 3 to 8 years. But here's the part almost nobody tells you. The major Canadian banks will count 50 to 70% of that suite's rent as income when you qualify for a mortgage. A $2,000 a month suite can add $12,000 to nearly $17,000 of qualifying income to your file. It doesn't just pay you. It makes you look richer to the bank. On paper, for free. You don't need a truck. You don't need a route. You don't need a vending machine or a Saturday. You need the empty floor under your feet and a permit. It earns while you sleep because you are, in fact, asleep directly above it. So look at the real pattern and the one rule we started with. Every business that made you sweat sat near the bottom of this list because down there, you were the asset. Every business that genuinely earns while you sleep, you owned outright. Land, a building, a door, a basement. The machine salesmen sell you the route. The wealthy quietly buy the dirt. The one I'd put my own money on first isn't even on most of these lists, because it doesn't sell a course. It's the paperwork to turn the space you already own into a second income. That's the next video, the full legal suite playbook, permits, numbers, and the mortgage trick, start to finish. I'm Sam. This is the Looney Investor. Go rent out the boring thing.